to B2B Breakfast to Business with your morning girl, Bea Lim, also the managing director of Team Asia. And today, we're talking about staying connected and planning the work and working the plan. I am having a wonderful breakfast conversation with marketing expert Annelise Worn from Australia on the importance of staying connected and keeping those relationships with our audiences to keep our businesses afloat. We're dishing out some menu of tips and tricks on how to plan the work and work the plan in this now normal. We are now focused on business recovery, ladies and gentlemen, and what we want to do is to take a look into it from a business purpose driven mindset to marketing to making the now normal work for us and not the other way around. We talk about connections, we talk about plans, we talk about commitment, and a different way of seeing and playing Monopoly in this now normal. Here at B2B Breakfast to Business, we want you to be in the know and to be in the now. What better way to do that, ladies and gentlemen, than to get in touch with real life people, with real life stories, and how it is to live in the now. And guys, this morning, we have a very special guest hailing from the land down under who will provide us with an international perspective on how businesses plan their respective futures and how it is equally important to make the plan work. We'll also get expert advice on why and how brands are staying connected even in the middle of a global pandemic. So ladies and gentlemen, I'm very excited to have with me here today Miss Annelise Worn. She is a business strategist, marketing mentor, and CEO of a digital agency. She has spent the last decade running businesses that empower and equip women to pursue both ambition and well-being. She has been featured across multiple forms of media and events both in Australia and internationally as well. She shares her insights on the Mom Style Business podcast as well as a weekly video for tradies called Custom Build Marketing. Now, one of the awesome insights I got from Annelise when I first talked to her was her concept on plan the work, work the plan. We were so inspired by this because of, the challenges and uncertainties happening all around us that we said, hey, you know what? Let's talk about it here in Breakfast to Business. Let's talk about the importance of coming up with a plan, creating it, sticking to it, and working it, and not making the challenges work us. We want to make those challenges just challenges and for us to strategically pivot and work around those challenges because, ladies and gentlemen, there are a lot of great opportunities out there. And today, we're talking about just that. And here we are with Miss Annelise Worn. Thank you so much for joining us. How are you this lovely Monday morning, Annelise?
Thank you so much for having me. I'm great. I'm really wonderful. Thank you for asking. I'm excited to dig in today.
Awesome. And it's a lovely morning. And it's rainy season here in the Philippines, but I do know that it is winter season there in Australia. And I'm really excited that, we are having this breakfast conversation and we're keeping it real and we're having a great conversation around what is it that we're going to need to do in the future. But Annelise, before we dish out those tips and tricks, right, on how important it is to stay connected, I really want our listeners to get to know you a little bit more, right? So tell us more about yourself, Annelise. Let's get up close and personal. Like, what do you do? What do you do in Australia? And what's the Annelise Worn story? Go ahead.
Wow. Sure. So yes, my name is Annelise. I live at the bottom of Australia on the surf coast. And what I do is I run a marketing agency that I started 3.5 years ago with my husband. And we only work with the construction industry. And the reason that we started the business is that I've got 3 young children and we moved back down to the beach and I didn't want to be commuting and having the kids in care and all of that. So we wanted the freedom and the flexibility to do our own thing. And that process of building the business was tough as getting anything kind of off the ground is. But we obviously had the marketing expertise. And so that was our strong point. But the more that I spoke to other women who were wanting to have families or had young families that also wanted what we had, which was now a successful business from home.
That's
And
awesome.
so, yeah, so I started mentoring women and teaching them how to do their own marketing because it can be expensive. When you're getting started, there's not often a marketing budget. We're normally bootstrapping, especially if you're doing it with a baby in tow. So I developed the Marketing Mentor Program, which gives small business owners access to our marketing agency team so that they're on call and that they can do their own marketing with the help of an expert team. So that's what I do. So we still got the agency, but I primarily work within the mentor program now.
That's absolutely amazing. Go women. Thank you so much, Annalise, for sharing that story because it's very, very inspiring. Team Asia, our own agency is we're very proud that it's women owned and women led. So I love what you said. It's like a husband and wife tandem. With us, it's a mother and daughter tandem. So I know, and it's fantastic because like what you said also, there are a lot of different challenges in starting up your own and marketing yourself, right? But then I'm so glad that there are people out there like you that are empowering women and other individuals that do want to start and to make those plans work. And that's actually our topic for today, which is
Yeah.
making things work for you no matter how challenging it is out there, right? But Annalise, before we go into talking about marketing in the now normal, so to speak, I did want to do like a quick pulse check of how it is in Australia. Like I know that global economies are already starting to open. I mean, just in the Philippines, we're just easing out of lockdowns and the like. And I know everybody is still very much focused in making sure that we fight, this pandemic as an entire, global force, right? But how is it in Australia these days? How are you guys doing?
Most of Australia is in that phase, and a lot of states now actually have zero cases, and things are getting, there's events running again and all of that. Unfortunately, I'm near Melbourne, and at the moment right now we have gone back into lockdown. I'm on the coast, so I'm just outside of that. I'm about half an hour away from the lockdown, so we aren't. But Melbourne are fully back down in lockdown. They have to wear masks everywhere. So those businesses that had started to reopen, the beauty therapy places and the restaurants and all of that, have now had to shut down again. So for primarily, we're in a really good place. There's just our main city is has gone backwards. We've had a second wave. So
Yeah.
for the most part, everyone is coming out of that and starting to rebuild.
Thank you so much, Annalise, for sharing how it is in Australia. I love the term that you said, rebuild, because I actually believe that COVID-19 has changed the world, but I would also like to use the term transform. It's like it's not that we're starting from scratch. It's about being able to build upon what we've already what we've already accumulated and what we've been building so far, and seeing how we can actually pivot and move forward. So thank you for sharing that word. It's a beautiful world of rebuilding. How has the global pandemic affected businesses and the way you guys work, the way you guys live and play in Australia? I just wanted to know how it is in another part of the world.
Every industry is really affected in different ways. So, for construction in Australia, construction is seen as an essential service. And so it has mostly gone on as normal. But because it involves people paying for the construction, there has, of course, been changes and been a bit of a hit. Things like kids' lessons are not happening. Events agencies and events companies, of course, like now some of those can go online, but again, that impacts so many people. So I think worldwide there are similarities in that each industry is affected in different ways. So there's also been, I think, some really great positives where people have had to move online that have sort of avoided it or been postponing that, and then they have been forced to go online, and so therefore they've actually expanded business and they've actually found different ways to serve their markets that will continue even after the restrictions have gone away. So it's really it's going to be very interesting the next few months and years as to how this changes the whole economy and the whole way that we do business.
Absolutely, absolutely. I totally agree with you. Just with what you shared, we do see that in the Philippines, and we do see it around the world as well. I feel that, COVID-19 has truly disrupted the entire world. I mean, we were just talking about transformation earlier, right? Like it has transformed the way we live, the way we work, the way we play, the way we consume data, and all of that jazz, right? And it is unprecedented. Like, this crisis, while there were other crises in the past, I believe that this is unprecedented, and a lot of different industries have had to look into how we can actually not only move forward, but to continue to be sustainable, given that we got so used to how things were working before, especially with advancement in technology and all of that, right? And how there's a lot of people movement as well, right? And those are the things that we kind of need to sort through as we move forward, while still, of course, maintaining physical distancing and seeing how we can recover. So thank you so much for sharing how it is in Australia, Annalise. And actually, that's the reason why we had wanted to talk to you, right? Because here in the Philippines, we've been talking about the now normal. Like, we've been planning for this new normal or the future reimagined for months now. And as like what I shared earlier, we have slowly emerged from the lockdowns, and people have really started to focus on business recovery, like not just being sustainable, but also being focused on, okay, now what? Now how do I move forward, really, right? And we know that really at the end of it all, for us to really do business recovery, we need a plan, and we need a plan of action. And I think that a lot of people feel that it's hard to plan when there are so many uncertainties, right? In everywhere. And actually, that's what inspired us to have this conversation with you, because I love the insights that you shared in your previous podcast on planning the work and working the plan despite all of the other uncertainties that people are facing, right? So again, COVID-19 disrupted the world. We know that people were forced to adapt and pivot to survive, and that also means different countries have had different responses to this shift, just like what you mentioned earlier. In the field of marketing, Annalise, and communications, what were the shifts actually that you observed?
For I don't think that we were an industry that was really significantly impacted, because for us, our work was already online. We did a lot of it already. We work with clients all over the world, and we do it just like this. So we personally didn't experience a big difference. And in fact, we work in the construction industry, and the construction industry have a little bit more time on their hands, which means they're finally getting around to all the things they have wanted to get around to doing, which happens to be marketing. So for us, it was actually a period of growth, which there has been, like, certain industries have had that and certain industries have totally gone the other way. And so for marketing, I don't think it changed a lot, but it did change the way that we were responding to our clients. Because our clients are face to face, the way that we serve them and our strategies for them did have to change, and say, okay, so how can we continue to help you serve your clients and advertise your services in the midst of physical distancing and isolation and uncertainty with money and all of that. So from a marketing perspective, it forced us to get more creative, and it showed us that we have to think about different ways of relating to people and different ways to serve the same need, because the client's needs and the needs that all of our businesses are serving, those needs don't go away just because there's a pandemic. And so it's finding how to still serve that, how to still help that person, how to still help the same client in a different way.
Absolutely, absolutely. I love what you said earlier about it actually pushing us to be more creative and resourceful and determined, right? because it's like everybody is affected by it, and we need to know how we can help one another, because actually this is the time when marketing and communications can help businesses be more transparent with their customers, right? To be more in tune, to be able to continue nurturing their virtual communities, because that is what our audiences also need, is that continuous flow of communication and relations from the brands that they are working with, or that they are that they are in tune with, right? Because now's the time when communication is very, very important, because we just need that knowing and that awesomeness that we're all connected in the world despite the crisis that's happening, whether it's in our personal lives or in the business landscape. So earlier, Annalise, you also said that there were a lot of different shifts that have happened. It may not necessarily be, grand shifts for some. There are some that had more time in their hands, but there are also some folks that have, had financial struggles and all of those things, right? Because this is all what we are experiencing in this pandemic. While we know also that a lot of businesses are in the early stages of recovery, what we wanted to check in with you is, how should businesses plan the work and work the plan moving forward into this new age or this new future, knowing that there is that struggle to make ends meet, right? It may not be just financial, right? It may be also sensitivities. It may also be being able to continue nurturing particular communities. So we just wanted to check in with you. Yeah, how should businesses plan the work and work the plan moving forward? What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's going to look so different for everyone. And I think you're right with the transformation word, is that is going to be a transformation. And someone right back at the start said a comment to me, it's like someone has had the monopoly board and thrown it out the window, and then we have to like put all the pieces back together. But the point is that we still have all the pieces, which was like what you were saying, we're not totally rebuilding, we're just, but in that, having a blank slate is so much opportunity, because now we can really design our businesses for where we're at now. We're not dealing with necessarily such formal structures that were in place before, or the way that we did things. People are now really open to change. People are open to new ideas. People are working in different ways. And so with those pieces, we get to now go, okay, what is going to work the best for the business? How can we make this the most profitable that we can? How can we serve our clients at a higher level? And what does that look like? Because if we're dealing with a blank slate, then we can build it however we like. And then, like I said, that the needs of our clients, they haven't gone away. That need is still there. And so I think that creating the plan and figuring out the new strategy is doing that, is stepping back, looking at it like a monopoly board, and getting really strategic and going, who can I partner with? Who can I collaborate with? How can I do this? How can I meet people where they're at now? Because maybe I was serving a few people at a high dollar amount, but I need to serve a lot of people at a lower dollar amount to meet the financial need.
Correct.
Or, and that formula, you can't give one because every business is going to be so different. Every client, every need is so different. But to look at it, to go, what is the best way that I can still meet that need and meet my client where they're at? Because when something like this happens and the economic turmoil is, bananas, it's really like affecting so many different things, but the money doesn't go away. The money just transfers hands and goes in different channels. The money is still there, and we just spend it differently. So in Australia at the start, when everything hit, no one was spending money on construction, and everyone was spending money on e-commerce. E-commerce went crazy. It blew up. Everyone was doing grocery shopping, and they weren't spending less, they were spending more actually. And so it's just about thinking about who is that client I was serving? Where are they now? What's that frame of mind? What is that need? And has that shifted a little bit? How can we as a business, with all of others that we have, how can we serve them and serve ourselves and get the best result for everyone? And then once we've put the pieces back and we have the plan, it's about working the plan. So once you've been really strategic and you've paved that way forward, to actually commit to doing that, because as we all know, business is not going to turn around in a day or a month or some short time period. So it's not going to we're not going to see immediate results. We're not going to get the applause that we're looking for straight away. It's going to take time. So it's about committing to that plan and walking through it and taking those steps, even when you're not seeing the results. It's putting the blinkers on, not looking at the competitors. Once you've established the plan and you've done the research and you've gone, no, this is my plan, actually doing that and committing to it and committing to a time frame to go, all right, in 6 months, then we're going to have an analysis. We're going to look back and see where we're going to move from here. But committing to a certain time frame of implementation and doing the work and getting it done.
Yeah, absolutely. Annalise, I love that you said monopoly. Like, I had that visual. I was just about to say, right? What you said earlier about someone just got the monopoly board and threw it out, and then you're just putting the pieces back together. But I love what you said about, hey, you know what? It's now time for you to actually also create that monopoly board that you want. Right? I mean that are using new things, or that are using new strategies. I absolutely loved also what you shared about, the money doesn't go away, it's just being funneled into different channels. So while there is that notion that yes, there are changes, people, we know that we should acknowledge it, that there are certain limitations, or there may be some challenges or roadblocks along the way, just like in any monopoly game, right? Like, you're like, I don't want to go to jail, you know or land on an an undesirable investment piece or whatnot, right? But yeah, absolutely, like, there are things that we can do, and we need to be able to look at the opportunities more than the challenges, right? Like, let the challenges be that, just a challenge, right? But then allow yourself actually to love the fact that there are multiple opportunities, and while there are new ways to create this monopoly board, the fact is that we are able to create that monopoly board. I love that, and being able to commit to say, hey, you know what, this may not be the original monopoly board, but this is going to be the monopoly board moving forward. That's awesome. I love that visual. Now I think people are going to start whipping their monopoly boards this week. And but I think that, you know what, they should, everybody commit to your monopoly boards and see, the different ways that you can skin that board game, right?
Yeah.
And see how you can move forward. Absolutely. So Annalise, you did share a lot of different steps, right? You shared, like, what are the things that you need to do to be able to research, to create the plan, and basically just stick to it, right? Yes, we may need to pivot. Yes, we may need to recalibrate at some point if things are not working out, or that we need to fine tune things. But there is that commitment to, I'm gonna get this done. And I think that that's what everybody needs to know also now, is that don't get disheartened if things don't work out right away. Stick to it, right? You may not be getting the applause that you want, but it will come, and it will come in the near future. Now, you've shared the necessary steps that we need to be taking to be able to commit to this plan, to create the plan, and to stick with it. Why do you think, and I go back actually to the important point that you said earlier about shifting the way we relate to people, but making sure that we keep that notion in the game, right? Why is it important for brands and businesses to keep nurturing, to keep strengthening, building relationships, and staying connected with their audiences?
Well, the relationships that we have, that is the lifeblood of our business. And whether it's relationships with our clients or relationships with our partners and people that we collaborate with, that is the thing that makes everything else easier, is having those relationships. And even if your audience now are buying from you in a different way, or aren't buying from you at the moment, or whatever that is, aren't engaging with events, or whatever that looks like, staying front of mind while everyone else pulls back, and leaning in while everyone else is acting out of the fear, which is the natural reaction, is to, like, keep it close to my chest and move back and kind of wait. the businesses that are leaning in, that are continuing to serve, are the businesses that are going to be front of mind, and going to be they're going to be stronger and come out of this quicker because they have continued to make steps. And yes, we might make wrong steps because no one knows what this is going to look like in a year. No one knows what it's going to look like in 3 months. And but we can make educated guesses because again, we've got those relationships and we are working with people, and people have the need that they have and the need that we are serving. And again, that need doesn't go away. So staying connected to that, staying connected to our people is the best thing that we can do, when because then you have that relationship no matter how you're serving them, and that's what they remember is the experience and how they feel about you, your brand, your personal brand, your reputation is what you can then stand on to work the financial side around that. Does that make sense?
No, absolutely.
Communicate that clearly enough?
Yes, absolutely. Actually, there's this thing that I've been saying this as well, and I loved what you said earlier, Annalise, is that a lot of folks or some folks actually think that, hey, you know what, I'm just gonna do this, or I'm going to communicate, or I'm going to connect with audiences when I'm ready to bounce back. But what people don't understand is bouncing back has to happen now, not when we're ready to rock and roll later on in life, right? Because what people need to know is that you are ready for them, that you are there for them, so that when things get back to quote and unquote not normal but on more stable ground, they know that you have been with them throughout and that you were able to serve that need. So yes, absolutely with you on that one. And what we want to know, Annalise, is how do we make and create those genuine connections, right? That go just beyond selling, especially when we're in a crisis situation, people are getting back on their feet. How do we actually create those genuine connections, establish customer loyalty in this new age?
I think again, it's hard to speak across industries and across different things, but it needs to start with us meeting our clients where they are, and wherever that is, and talking to them and asking them and seeing what's going to help them. I mean, we'll already know a lot about our customers, and we'll probably know why we're not engaging with them the way that we were, and what their difficulties are, and meeting them there and using what we have or what we can have in order to serve them. So even the creation of this podcast is such a fantastic example, because it's it's not what you were doing before, but you found a way to meet your audience where they are, to be transparent, to continue to serve. And that's what it's a really great example for all of us as to different ways that we can think outside what we were currently doing, think outside the square, and go, how can we, with our resources, meet our clients where they're at right now? And yes, it's just going to force us to get creative and innovative and strategic, and maybe collaborate with different people that we hadn't collaborated with before. And it may be a really different model to what you had, or it might just be a really small shift depending on what you were doing. But finding that way to meet our clients where they're at and communicating with them and actually asking them, because we are people and they are people, and
Yes.
and we can do that. We have the capability to ask and not just make it up.
Thank you for saying that, Annalise. Yes, I mean that is my banner. Thank you for putting that in the open, because that's so important. And that's the reality, guys. We are capable of asking people how they are. We can't be tone deaf. We can't just assume what it is that they need, assume what it is that they want and how they want to hear it. Like, this is the time when we are all really in this together. We're all experiencing an unprecedented time and crisis. We're all struggling. We're all changing. We're all transforming. And I would love to believe that we're all transforming for the better, right? And so asking people, asking your audiences how they are, what they need, and what is it that you can do to help them move forward is is a key thing to actually really do make us all move forward, right? And because we're not tone deaf, right? Because we're not tone deaf and we've actually made that ask, we actually ask them how they are and what is it that they need. That is already the first step in establishing that genuine and meaningful connection. And I truly believe that genuine connections go far, far, far and along the way, right, Annalise? Like it's so much better.
Of course, because we're people and we relate to people, and more we buy from people that we know and we like and we trust. And the millennial generation buy from people that have similar values to them, and that's becoming more and more apparent. So how are we going to communicate that? Well, we need to find a way to be transparent and be with our audiences, whatever that looks like for our brand.
I love it. So see, it's we're going back to the Monopoly board, right? It is a board, but it's up to us how we're going to skin that board game, right? And make it a reality. All right, Annalise, I do have one last question for you, and it's really also for business owners, right? Like business owners. I know we're in the communications and marketing field, but we're also business owners here, and I would love for you to also share, something that our listeners can walk away with and make it their power song, throughout the whole week. As business owners, the struggle is real. We know that, right? And while it is very good for us to plan the work and work the plan, as you said earlier, sometimes it does get tough, and because of the uncertainties out there, a lot of people are looking at business owners to really sally forth and navigate those uncharted territories ahead of everybody else, right? How do you think business owners, or what are the things that business owners can do to keep that drive strong? Because I know you do a lot of coaching and mentoring, and a lot of our business owners are struggling now, right? So what would be your piece of advice or something that you feel they need to remember, right? And why we're here?
Yeah, what helps me and what I speak to my clients about a lot is coming back to why are we doing this? And I think that in all of the uncertainty, it can get a bit scary, and it can feel like as we're moving forward and we're like, we're coming out of the mud, that we're not making progress. But if we stay connected to why we're doing this and really what is important for us, and imagining that new future for all it can be, um, then for me that's staying connected to that every day. So when I wake up in the morning, I do some journaling and I write things down that haven't happened yet as if they have already happened. And for me, that's how I stay connected to my why. So I am this, or I am that, or whatever your why is, and your hopes and dreams for you and your business and your family are. And that's how I stay connected daily, is by writing it down. But staying connected to that, and um, being having that front of mind, I think gives you that push when things are hard. It makes you pick up the phone when you don't want to pick up the phone. But also, as we go, looking back and going, okay, where was I a month ago? And look how far I have actually come. And looking at those really small wins, which we don't when we're in the midst of, emails and phone calls and finances and all of that. We don't look back necessarily and go, okay, hang on, but a month ago I was here and now this is the progress that I've made. Okay, like we can actually do this. So they're my two ways that I help me stay motivated. Is one, staying connected to why I'm doing it, and two is looking at how far I've come, because on a day-to-day basis, when you're in it, you don't remember those things. You just feel the weight of what you have to do, not the small wins that you have had.
Yes, thank you, Annalise. Thank you for reminding us that, because in the midst of a pandemic, you tend to forget the small wins, right? But I loved what you said. You said, where was I a month ago and where am I now? And thank you for reminding us of that one, because, guys, it may be tough out there, but we are doing the best we can, right? To push forward and make things happen, right? I mean, I think I read somewhere, or someone did tell me before, when there is no struggle, there is no progress, right? And that was such a beautiful line to me because it's true. Progress doesn't fall like a beautifully wrapped gift in front of you, and you just say, "Yay!" You've had to fight for it, right? You have to work hard for it, and guys, we do need to celebrate those little wins. Absolutely. Annalise, if that was one thing that I want people to walk away from today, it's that we need to celebrate the little wins, people, and that's a way for us to stay connected to our purpose. Now, that would be my key takeaway today, Annalise. But I would love it. I would love for you to also just give all of our listeners like a food for thought, right? Like something that they can keep with them this week to motivate them and to push forward. What would that be?
I would just say that, remember, it's related to what I just said. Nothing worthwhile is going to come easy. It's going to come out of the struggle, because if it was easy, then everyone would have it, everyone would do it. And so it's the challenging things that produce the most fruit. And if you're struggling with where to go, then I would really encourage you to connect with someone, identify someone or some businesses, or just one business that you can connect with and collaborate with now, and let that be your first step of coming out of this, because we are all looking for different ways to do business, and having someone that you can partner with is going to help motivate you, because it's not just you trying to get something out of thin air, and then you also get the power of two, and you get the synergy of all of that. So that's what I would leave people with, is it's going to be worth fighting for now, and not waiting, and if you don't see a way out of that, then find someone that you can connect with that is going to help you move forward.
Yes, I love it. Thank you so much. Because yes, there is. We're gonna have to fight for it, but it's always better when you fight along with someone else, right? We are not alone. We are not
No,
alone, people.
we're not. We're all doing this our own version of this. It looks different for everyone, but this is different for everyone.
Yes, yes. Well, Annalise, thank you so much for the wisdom, the food for thought, for the tips and tricks that you've shared with everybody. I think a lot of our listeners can pick up so many insights from what you just shared. I mean, coming from Australia, but having a lot of marketing insight and marketing expertise from the different industries that you have service, especially in construction, and also all of the mentoring that you've shared. I think if I were to just sum up everything that we talked about today, it's really that the now normal is both a rebuild or a transformation process that also has or allows us a blank slate, right? There are pieces that have been thrown around, and it's up to us to put that puzzle together, but we can also skin it in different ways. And to be able to do that, we cannot forget that we should stay connected, not only with our partners, but with our audiences, because they're also going to be the ones that will drive us forward. Thank you so much, Annalise, for all of your insights. I really appreciate you sharing all of those things.
You're so welcome. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. And ladies and gentlemen, just a quick wrap up of our discussion. If last season we were dishing out some food for thought, and Annalise did also mention, the different insights that we can, walk away from today's episode and sally forth into the new future. What I would like to do is to give you a reality bite, right? The reality is the struggle is real. Annalise said it, I said it, we know it. But as we acknowledge it, we should also say that we are on the road to recovery. And the question really is that we should be answering is, what are you going to do about it? Are you going to wait? Are you going to, like what Annalise mentioned, pull back? Or are you going to lean in, lift some weights, and make sure that that struggle is going to lead to progress? The hustle looks different. This is something that we've said in the past. Ladies and gentlemen, the hustle looks different, but we're going to keep on hustling anyway. So once again, thank you so much for joining us here at B2B Breakfast to Business. I am Bea Lim. I'm very honored to have had Annelise Worn, a marketing expert and amazing and inspiring woman from Australia, to join us in today's podcast episode. Annelise, where can our listeners find you? I would love for them to listen to you more and to find out, what are your new insights moving forward. So can you share your information as well? Go ahead.
Yeah, sure. So the podcast is the Mum Style Business Podcast, and everything, including links to that, is at anneliseworn.com.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen, anneliseworn.com. Don't forget that. And of course, don't forget also to tune into our own social media channels. We are on Facebook, www.facebook.com/TeamAsiaPH. We are on Instagram, so please tag us at TeamAsiaPH. We're also on LinkedIn, www.linkedin.com/TeamAsia. And of course, our own website, www.teamasia.com. So thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for being part of Breakfast to Business with Miss Annelise Worn on staying connected and planning the work and working the plan so that we can really take the new future by the hands and create magic out of it. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you, Annelise. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.